Hey, Scott Solari here with RealSynch, and welcome back to Real Tech Talk. Today, I have a great interview. I did a great interview with Frank Klesitz, the CEO of Vyral Marketing, and we talked about how your tech stack can actually prevent you from being productive. So it's a little flip on the script. Stick around. The interview was a lot of fun, and it's fantastic, and it gives you some great insight on what you need to be doing and focusing on in order to improve efficiency and production in your business. Thanks so much. And here is the interview with Frank Klesitz.
Hey everyone, Scott Solari. Welcome back to Real Tech Talk. As I mentioned, I had Frank Klesitz, CEO of Vyral Marketing, on today. And we're going to kind of talk about tech, but in a different way. Frank, thanks for being on. If someone is watching this and doesn't know who you are, why don't you give them a quick little brief background of who you are and your experience in the real estate industry as you've been able to develop an amazing company in Vyral Marketing.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
We 2009, I was looking to get into real estate, and they said you need to go build a database and stay in touch with it. And I asked them, what do I send them to stay in touch? And they said, here's a bunch of junk mail. At the time, I didn't realize I sent a bunch of junk mail to stay in touch with my database. So I decided to, start making some videos, and that was kind of a novel at the time. And when you start making videos and send them out, that's a lot of work when you really look into it. Someone has to, at least sit down and be your thinking partner on what to say. You got to edit it, write it, put it online, email it out. It takes time on a computer, which is where your time should not be spent, which I think is where a lot of this interview is going to go today.
Yeah.
Based upon some of our discussions beforehand. And what we do at Vyral is we help you stay in touch with your database. We interview you on a webcam, and then we handle all the editing, optimization, and promotion for you to stay in better touch. And we've been doing it for about 10 years. And I get to be on the front line of human behavior. So it's one thing to go to a mastermind. It's one thing to go to a conference. It's one thing to sit around and talk to fellow agents about what you could do or what you think you're going to do and what you'd like to do. It's another when it comes down to actually getting the work done and not going bankrupt and actually selling houses and, getting commission checks,
Right.
To actually doing the work. And many times you can get caught up in the marketing too much. You can get caught up in the tech too much, and where it tends to hurt you more than it helps you.
Absolutely.
I think that's where we're going to head today, right, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to go that way. So I work for RealSynch. It's a tech company. There's a million applications out there of, lead generation to transaction management to your CRM to phone call or text applications. I mean, there's so much stuff that could help your business, but, going back to what you just said, a lot of times you get caught up in trying to take action and then actually nothing gets done. So what I wanted to ask you, with your experience working with agents and teams and their human behaviors and understand their human behaviors, like what do you see when it correlates to this technology, and what do you advise teams and agents on what they need to be doing, man, to be productive?
I think one of my I'll start with a story on that. When I started Vyral, I would get on a plane and I would just go fly to find out who are the top selling agents in the entire country. And I'd call them up and I would say, hey, I'd like to make a DVD of how you run your office. I think it'd make a really cool, I know. I'd like to make a DVD of how you run your office, and we could sell it. And I think it'd be a great recruiting tool. So I'd like to come out with a video camera and film it all and interview you and make this whole DVD. And that was the time. I think it was maybe 2011 or 12. And I went up to Greg Harrelson's office, who is a pretty well-known real estate broker out in Myrtle Beach, sells thousands of homes a year. And I specifically remember going in there, and it's just basically, it might be 100 stand-up desks in this warehouse, essentially. And there's really no computers on anyone's desk. I don't think there was even a computer on Greg's desk. I'm like, this is for me growing up and being who doesn't have a computer with a desk on it? Like maybe the president. That's the only desk I think I've seen without a computer on it, is like the president of the United States. Right.
Yeah.
But here's all these people without computers, or if they did, they were these really old, crappy ones. I think that literally just had access to the MLS. And these guys were calling, and they were just they printed out their dial sheets, and they had a ruler, and they were just going down line by line with a ruler and making calls. And in many cases, they had like 2 headsets on. So they were dialing on one and they would dial on the other to try to make it faster. And at the time, there were like all these, all this technology was coming out. And I was even down there to work with Greg to say, like, how can we use Infusionsoft, which was kind of a really big thing in the day for like drip email and marketing automation when that was around.
Right.
Or still around, but that was a big fad. And he's like, oh, yeah. I just, I have a whole stack of, 1,000 sheets of paper here. When someone comes in, they grab a handful. And then whenever they talk to somebody on the phone, they write down the name, phone, email address, and they circle the tags. And then by 1 o'clock every day, they all give me all the sheets of all the people they spoke with. And then I have an executive assistant that enters them into the CRM. They like, what do you mean? Like, it's like, Frank, I don't remember. I'll paraphrase, but the quote was something is like, the more technology I give people, the less money I make.
Right.
Because I need people on the phones. I need people making calls. I need them on the phones. I need them engaged. I need to remove every obstacle of human behavior. That was the thing. I mean, he really is a human behavior expert I need to remove every obstacle of human behavior that distracts someone from being on the phone. And I couldn't even imagine, getting a real estate professional, hey, here's your phone, here's your tablet, here's all your apps and your dongs and your pongs and your pangs, and here's your email, and here's your whole setup. Hey, you got this microphone here, and here's your light, and here's this other microphone over here, and here's your computer. Yeah, dude. Talk to 10 people a day. Good luck. Yeah. That's pretty much, giving an alcoholic, just surrounding them with alcohol and telling them to be, sober.
Right.
So I think, I don't know where the question was, where you were going with your question, but I think with all technology is, Chris Waters, who I have a lot of respect for in Austin, talks about your tech stack of, what are the key pieces of technology that you need. And I'm a really big fan of like peeling down, like minimally, what is the absolute minimal amount that you need?
Right.
And just sticking with that. And the rest is being on the phone and talking to people.
Yeah.
When we started, my wife and I started a real estate investment business, and I told her that I'm like, we're going to Neanderthal this thing out. The way we do all of our deals is we send out direct mail, which is probably the least sexy of anything, right? People call,
but it works
on the phone.
Yeah.
And then I hired a couple ISAs overseas to answer the phone and to get their contact information over the phone and put it into a CRM. And the cheapest off the shelf CRM I could possibly buy was Zoho.
Right.
So we use Zoho. There's no drip emails. There's no texting. There's no automation. There's no AI follow-up, nothing. It's just a team of 3 people in the Philippines making, about $200 to $300 a day of follow-up to call everyone nonstop.
Yeah.
I think we go 20 or 30 calls and give up on somebody. And then setting an appointment for someone to go out there. And even the person on the appointment to go out there, we would arm them with like, hey, here's a laptop, here's a device, but the CRM records never got updated. So I took all that away and said, you don't even need technology, because I want you to show up on the appointment with paperwork as opposed to an iPad. So show up with paperwork. And sales increased. The conversion rate increased. We took away the technology on the presentations, and they just showed up with a paper agreement. And what they do after every meeting.
Why do you think that is? Before we continue on, why do you think that is? As far as taking the tech out of the house,
I don't know, man. I think I don't know.
Because I feel like if you're not having your phone or your tablet right there, you're like more engaged with the person across from you, maybe.
It has,
right?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I find myself all the time. I mean, I really hate doing interviews like on my computer. Because like I'm looking at my computer now, we're doing a Zoom meeting and I can see everything else on my desktop. And I really hate that. Like I really should actually like turn like right now I just turn my screen off and I could focus a lot more on the interview than having like all the distractions sitting here on my screen. And like when you listen to really good interviewers, I'm serious, and I I listen to Howard Stern sometimes, and he's super engaged in interviews. And I actually Googled it. I went into his studio. I was like, I wonder if he's looking at a computer or there's a computer on his desk at his studio. So it's the president and Howard Stern. I know those two people don't have computers on their desktop when Howard's doing an interview.
Yeah, he's just got his mic, right? He just
has his mic, and he has nothing in front of him. He's looking right at the guest, or he's very specific that it's just a TV with the guest. There's nothing else distracting him, so he can stay engaged. So I think I guess what I'm trying to say is I'll never say that story is like in an era when I went to all the top teams. I mean, the guy's really selling lots of real estate.
Right.
The ones that were a little more prospecting based didn't have much tech. Or if it was the business owner, and this is kind of one of the key things here, the agents weren't using much. It was the business owner really was able to systematize in the back end in some way where like maybe there was a lot of tech running it, but the agents didn't spend much time dealing with it.
Right. Like the admin or the owner.
Yeah. We're trying to like set it up. We're using too much of it. So with our investment business that my wife has is it's direct mail, it's phone calls, it's a basic CRM, and there's absolutely nothing tech to the entire operation. And it works very well. And I did that on purpose out of a sense of simplicity for Katie, my wife. And just to kind of test the idea, do I really need drip emails? Do I really need drip phone calls? Do I really need any of this? And truthfully, no. The only thing I really need is I need to send out maybe one or two, probably two emails a month that are up to date and personal, that are timely in some way, that enters the conversation going on in someone's head about, I don't know, like, hey, I got this email. It's probably relevant to like kind of what's going on. Like, hey, it's Christmas or something like that.
Right.
Which is what Vyral does.
Yeah.
My company. But it's not like this 24-month trip that's been set up. That's just kind of this canned material that isn't really relevant when it goes out.
Right.
So I guess we're going with the conversation is I hope for anyone listening to this is there's a diagram you can get on all the different apps and all the different companies of all the tech integrations and all the tech that's out there. But the number one most important thing, like if I were to go into my real estate team, if I were to start a real estate team from scratch, my very first hire would be a virtual assistant. And that virtual assistant's job was to do nothing but police any agents I brought onto the team to make sure they spoke with 10 people a day. I put a lot of thought into this. Frank, you're going to start a real estate team.
Yeah.
How are you actually going to go sell real estate? Well, I'm not. I'm going to go find agents that will.
Right.
That's my first answer.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go probably get them some phone numbers, and I'm going to go get their database, and I'm going to go do some stuff for them of why they work for me in the first place to help them out. But they all got to speak to 10 people a day. And they're all going to lie to me that they did. That's guaranteed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hire a VA to inspect that. And then I'm going to coach them to the data of what they actually did on their calls. I'm going to hire a VA to listen to the calls, report them to scorecards, see how they're doing on their calls, make sure the calls are being made, and making sure like there's this really good book, man, called Great by Choice. And the it's the
Great by Choice.
Yeah, Great by Choice. I'll never forget this book. It was a guy that wrote Good to Great. And he opened the book in the first chapter on a story of two people racing to the South Pole in the early 1900s. There were two teams, two totally different leaders. First leader was like, okay, we need there's motors now. Instead of using horses or sled dogs, we're going to use motors. And we're going to go really fast, and we're not going to have as much food. And, there's all these new tips and new strategies, and we're going to do all that. And then we're going to race there. We're going to beat you. The other guy was like, the hell with all that. I'm sticking with sled dogs. I don't trust this. I'm going to train my team how to basically, sleep in snow without dying. I'm going to go a lot slower because I have a lot more, equipment. The other thing that was really interesting is the second guy said, no matter what the weather is, we're going to do 10 miles a day. So whether it's a great day, we're going to do 10 miles, we're going to rest the rest of the day. It's a shitty day, we're going to go, do 10 miles. Where the other guy was like, hey, it's a great day. Let's go do 30 miles. And then the weather would be terrible. And they would just sit and stop. Right. Well, they go through like these two totally different leaders.
Right.
And one of them was like, tech for the time.
Right.
Well, they all died.
Yeah. I was going to say
they all died.
Knowing you telling the story, they died.
They all died. Yeah. They all died. And the latter one that really stuck with a lot of the tried and true survived.
Right.
And one of the main takeaways of that was called this concept he wrote in the book that was just really powering to me, was called the 10-mile march. And it's basically the idea is like, no matter what the environment sends your way, whether it's good weather or bad weather or things you can't control, you still hike your 10 miles. Same concept of like, I'm going to go work out every day regardless.
Right.
But it's the same
Or
thing
like,
with the agents or
yeah.
anything. You don't like
Anything.
external
Yeah.
conditions, control your issues. So control what you do. So I would say all of my agents have to make 10 calls a day. And I would hire someone to inspect those 10 calls a day. And I would make sure that drumbeat is happening all the time, regardless. Right. Then I could start throwing in like, okay, here's some other stuff around that, but that would be the core. And I could probably take anyone's production. And the very first question I would ask them is, are all the calls getting in? Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And making sure that's happening. And with the VA. Then, I mean, Scott, your product at RealSync, I'd say, okay, we're making our calls. We're getting in 10 a day. We're not getting distracted by too much. It's happening all the time. All the people that we're speaking with, are we capturing their information and putting them into a database so we can send them more stuff? And one of those ways is to give everyone a sheet of paper. And whenever they speak to someone, they physically write it down. Yeah. And at the end of their shift, they take those sheets of paper, they give them to an assistant, and the assistant data entries them to keep your reps off of the technology.
Right.
It's a bit much. I don't know if that's for everyone. You got to be willing to sell a lot of houses to do that. I mean, you got to be wanting to sell a lot of homes to get that crazy, right? Yeah. I don't think anyone wants to sell that many houses.
Yeah.
So we're going to add technology back in.
Right. No one wants to do that well.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and give them a computer, and we're going to give them all this other stuff. But I guess what I'm getting at is just fun. It's fun to think of it this way. But, how easy can we make it? How painless can we make it to take that when you speak with someone, you make a contact, to actually get it into the darn CRM, which is like the biggest challenge of any CRM rollout. And that's what you guys of RealSync have put together, is just this incredible tool that allows you to add into your Gmail. It's free, right? And this is why I recommend it to all of our viral clients, is that you're sitting inside your Gmail. That's what we're all doing, which you shouldn't be, but we all are. Okay. And conversations are coming in, and you probably want to know is like, hey, is this person on my list? Are you really going to go double check and look it up? And no. Are you really going to like copy and paste the email, open a new tab, create new contact, paste it in the form fields, save, add to the respective drip list? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not.
No,
you're not. And
I ran a calculator. It takes like 20 seconds.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
It's way too long.
Yeah, so
it's a waste of time.
It allows you to push that information right into the database, and that would be the name of the game. If I was running a real estate team, I would say I'm not going to sell real estate. I'm going to hire people and train them to. I probably would go find some licensed agents that weren't doing too well, or train some people up from scratch. I'd say, look, guys, I'm going to maybe buy some cheap buyer leads for you off Facebook, or here's some expireds and FSBOs. You're all talking to people. So, I'll rah you. Come on in, and we'll have music and jump up and down, and we'll Wolf of Wall Street it, because the job does suck making cold calls initially. So I'll try to create an environment that reduces the pain of that.
Right.
Which is a lot of what sales environments do. Right.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be inspecting what I expect out of you.
Right.
So there's a certain script I want you following, and I want you making all your calls, and I don't have the emotional bandwidth to supervise you all day long. So, this person I've hired who happens to be overseas because they're cheap and they can do it to you virtually is going to basically be my eyes and ears. I'm watching you all. All right. And if I hired 5 of them, I make sure I'm making 50 speaking to 50 people a day. And how great would that be? Right. With 5 agents, you could totally do that. Right.
Predictable.
And after they're doing that, whether they're calling some cheap buyer leads, I'm throwing them on Facebook, or they're calling some numbers I got for some other homes, and they're making it happen, man. Right. I'd say, okay, great. We have that solid foundation in place. And it hasn't cost me much money to make that happen, because all these guys are on splits. Then I would say, okay, all the people you're talking to, they need to get into the database. Ask permission to stay in touch from everyone you speak with. So if my 5 agents are speaking with 50 people a day times 5 a week, that's 1,000 people a month. If I'm speaking to 1,000 people a month through my 5 agents, no calls for me.
Yeah.
Right. I would probably say about a third of those people, I mean, obviously depending upon the type of list you're calling, would say, yeah, here's my email address, send me your updates about what's going on with home prices.
Right.
Great. That's about 330 people
Yeah.
that you're adding of permission-based emails to your list every single month through your 5 agents. Times 12, 4,000 permission-based homeowner emails in a year. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how you sell real estate. And I think, without going broke. And I think, profitably at least, and I think the RealSync tool helps with that.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate you calling it out, but
yeah,
but I love, like, dude, we've talked about this for the years we've known each other. Simplifying the process. Less is more. And if you're watching this as a team owner, you're like, oh my God, there's so much more to selling real estate, but really there isn't. It's really simple in the fact that you need to be talking to people, right? And having good conversations.
Yeah, you do. And it's very easy. I think from a human behavior standpoint, if I were to give my inbound team like, hey, these drip emails are going out, or hey, here's these drip texts going out, I don't think they would push the calls as hard.
No.
Honestly.
No.
And the thing is, it's really hard, like, to do marketing automation well, where everyone's at a different part of the consumer journey. And like, they probably have spoken with people about different conversations, that you have kind of like these canned things like secretly timed to go out, it kind of messes up the credibility.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard. It's very easy to over marketing automate.
Yeah. It is hard because it's hard to time out those things, man. And like, if you're not in the headspace where the team owner thinks that automated email should be coming to you about buying, and you're like not ready for that yet, like, it just completely ruins the whole experience.
Yeah, it's like the drip emails that go out that are they're trying to look like this personal message that you sent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, oh my God, these are so bad. Like, I won't name names, but there's certain companies out there that do this, that will, hey, give me your database or give me your leads, and we got these great personalized drip emails we've pre-written that we're going to send out. And they're so bad, Scott. Like, I'm like, this has to be like a Saturday Night Live. Like, I can't believe people pay for this. I mean, they're literally paying money to, like, yeah, you might like get a deal off of it, but you're just murdering the rest of your list.
Yeah, you're better off.
That just kills all your credibility, reputation, if anything is professional. So anyways, the best ones is when people reply back to them. So like, you send this out, or this email goes out, and people reply back saying, hey bro, like, have you been hacked? So
it's that bad that they think.
Hand to God, dude, I have them. Hand to God. So they'll come to Vyral, be like, yeah, I hired this like drip email service to spam my database of all this crap, and probably not a good idea, because I've gotten emails back thinking I'm hacked. I think I need to step up. So yeah, the concept sounds good, but yeah.
I don't know. We got off on a tangent, but no, back to the point of like,
well, the message there is it's easy. It's automation can only take you so far. And you should only pick a very few pieces of technology. You have to keep it very simple. It's very exciting to start adding app after app and integration, all these crazy mind maps, all these things going there. And certainly there's some people that can do that their mind works those ways, but they ain't in the real estate business. They're running Google, or they have that type of analytical mind. They're not in a direct sales business.
Yeah.
So, my answer is get the RealSync integration. And that should be one of the apps that you use, because you yourself should try to remove technology from your life. So you're talking to people and you can easily add to your database. And if you have agents, you should be working to remove technology from their lives as well, in my opinion. So they're on the phones, and making sure that you enforce and make sure calls are getting made every single day. And once the calls are made every single day, which a lot of times the calls aren't being made every single day because they're screwing around the tech. right?
Right.
Trying to get that to work or whatever integration to work.
Dude, and
right?
the more applications you're allowing your agents to log into, the less productive they're being, but also the leads are falling through because
Yeah.
they're not getting followed up then with,
Yeah.
right? Because
And
they're having to go into so many different systems.
yeah, and think about that, man. I remember talking to Greg, and then we'll end the interview here. It was went up to his office. I'm like, man, there's no computers out here on the desks, and you know, I was like, Greg, why don't they just put the stuff into Infusionsoft themselves? Like, you just enter it into the system. He's like, oh, it was like this world. It was like this mountain of depth of wisdom of you naive child.
Yeah.
Like, no.
They
take the piece of paper and they write it on the paper, and then it goes to the assistant. And like at the time, I just kind of thought was like, this this old guy ain't with it. You know what I mean? What's going on? But as I get older, I was probably 23 or 24 now out there, and I realized the wisdom behind that. I mean, there was some serious wisdom behind that.
Yeah, there's some serious learning that he had done.
And I remember that I was like,
behavior.
I think at the time, if I remember correctly, he had maybe 30 productive agents in the office, and he would lead them like a sergeant in the military to probably make about 30 contacts a day.
Yeah.
And this is maybe 10 years ago where people answered the phone more, but if you had 30 agents speaking to 30 people a day, and they're all straight commission, so like it didn't cost you anything out of pocket. Your office just spoke to 900 people.
That's a lot of people.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Scott, you're a math major.
Was I?
No, you're an English major.
Yeah. I took trig in college. It is 900. Yes,
it is 900. Okay.
Yes.
So your office just spoke to 900 people.
Yeah.
Now, if you can get them to say, "Hey, what's your best email address? Can I put you in the database and get the right, mailing information?" I'd probably say a third of that. I mean, you're adding 300 emails. You're adding 300 permission-based opt-in emails to your list a day. A day.
And
how much would you have to spend to get 300 opt-ins on your website a day?
Dude, that's 6,000 a month. If you're just talking 5 days a week.
If you're running a phone team on straight commission, it costs you nothing.
Yeah. Except the phone numbers, right? Which is minimal.
Yeah, phone number, 15 cents a rec. Actually, no. If you go to Cole Information will give you unlimited numbers for like a couple $100 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So for phone systems, phones, yeah. But that's the thing. That's the real name of the game. So I just thought what we could do on this interview is just from two guys that have been in the industry for a while of, hey, this is RealSynch, it's tech. Yes, it's a wonderful product or service, but it's nice to kind of take all this stuff and put it into perspective of hopefully this has been a kind of a breath of fresh air for someone that's maybe kind of like getting really deep into like sitting on the computer and developing all these systems, but their production's going down. Right. And you have to kind of balance that of like, yes, you still have to do the system stuff, but you also have to make sure the calls are going to be made at the same time. And that is where, real estate just makes you fat because you work all the time because you have to figure out the systems to build something and you have to make sure the income's coming in and the calls are made at the same time. That's why you work all the time.
Right. Until you hire an assistant.
Until you have the money to hire an assistant. Yeah.
So, well, Frank, I really appreciate it, man. It's good to chat with you. And yeah, this is great. It's good stuff. And, if you guys need to learn more about viral marketing, you can go to getviral.com. Amazing service for staying in touch with your database as you build it, as Frank has suggested here, or told you to do. You need to stay in touch with quality, customized, timely video content so that you can connect with your database.
That's up to date and relevant.
Right.
So it's custom written, not canned dripped, written by somebody else.
Nope. And RealSynch is a partner of Vyral, and I do these videos. You're getting this video from Vyral right now.
Scott is
if you're still watching,
is a Vyral Marketing client.
Yes, if you're watching still, you made it all the way to here. Awesome. You are getting this video from Vyral. So thanks for helping us with that, Frank, and thanks for being a guest. And this has been Scott Slyer with RealSynch, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, everybody.